Welcome to Rock and Roll Book Club. I'm Shelley, and I'm here with my co-hosts Dave and Jen, and we are doing our newbie tag video for Rock and Roll Book Club.
Yay.
So, yay! Well, my name is Shelley, and I am a writer, and I own a branding and marketing communications company here in Omaha, Nebraska. I love reading. I love music. I've loved both things since I was a very young child. Let's see. Nope. That's Isla, my dog, right there. And then the other one is Oxford. So you guys will probably see them in the background of these videos. I also have three cats, three Siamese cats. And I know at least one of them has made an appearance in Rock and Roll Book Club. So we'll be sure to get them all in there at some point.
I will say I was listening to all sorts of music. I mean, from the time since I was a baby. My father was into classic country, Johnny Cash, Waylon Willie. My mother was into Steely Dan. She was into the Eagles. And then she got into like Madonna and Beyonce, but that came later. So I've always been raised with incredible music around me. I work in broadcast media, radio to be specific. I've been there for 25 years. Wow. I love going to concerts. I love Bruce Springsteen. I have seen him over 16 times, and most recently in Brooklyn at the Barclays Center last April. And I have a daughter who's 13. She is a Swiftie. I'm so proud of her because she has that passion that we all seem to have about our rock stars and bands and such. My husband's very into rap and kind of more R&B. So we've got all sorts of things happening at our house. I don't know what else to say. I have a dog, Eleanor. You may hear her bark every now and then. Here she is. And I just like learning about rock stars and figuring out the juice, the gossip, the connections, and this is really fun.
Awesome. Dave, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay. Yeah, I'm Dave. I live here in Omaha. I do have another YouTube channel called The Dark Stuff that I've been doing for a long time. For the past 19 years, I've been the host of a local radio show called New Day Rising. I've also done a number of different podcasts and whatnot over the years. And I've always been a reader, but mostly the books that I read are biographies, rock star biographies. So this sort of thing is perfect for me. Oh, hey there, everyone. It's me, editor Dave. Sorry to interrupt, but as I was putting this video together, it was pointed out to me that both Shelley and Jen mentioned their pets in the video, but I didn't mention mine. They were a little upset about it, so I just wanted to come in here and just point that out. I do have two feline roommates, Blackie and Nico. There, guys. Are you happy?
All right, well, let's get into it, guys. Starting with why did we start this channel? And that's really going to start with you two.
Okay, I'm going to say I've known Dave my whole life. I mean, we grew up together. And I've always loved his knowledge and everything he knows about music, and just to commiserate with or just to ask a question to, like, he's the guru. So the Susanna Hoff book, I said to Susanna Hoff's, I texted Dave and I said, have you read this? I know how much he loves the Bangles. And then we kind of went back and forth and decided to do a particular podcast or just a discussion about it. And here we are today. Five books.
Yeah, I mean, it was Jen messaged me or texted me or whatever and was like, yeah, this Susanna Hoffs thing sounds interesting. We should do a podcast about it. And I thought, yeah, that does sound pretty interesting because it was a novel, not a biography at first. And it was like unique. And I do love Susanna Hoffs. And so, but I thought, you know what? I already have this pre-existing YouTube channel. So why don't we make it a segment on there? And so we made this series called Rock and Roll Book Club, and we started posting them on the Dark Stuff channel. The reason why we're here today and why we're moving into this new space is really because I didn't think that the videos were getting enough of an audience for the quality that we were putting forward. And that's not just to me pat myself on the back or us to pat ourselves on the back, but we were all personally happy with what we were putting out. We liked it. We were having fun. We were enjoying doing it. And the YouTube algorithm gods or whatever were not putting people's eyeballs in front of our videos. And my assumption was, because my channel is mostly about records and concert reviews and album reviews and such, and my audience is 98% male and over 40, like maybe YouTube just didn't think this was something that anyone else would want to watch. So hence we started our new channel, Rock and Roll Book Club.
Mm-hmm.
And I got involved because Dave was doing me a favor and showing me his podcasting equipment for a project I'm working on separate from this, and told me about this person, Jen, who I'd never met, and how she wanted to do an episode on Susanna Hoff's book. And so I offered to read the book and throw in some discussion questions because I have a literary background and have had many, many, many discussions about books in my life. And then somehow magically, I also got on camera, and now you guys can't get rid of me. So. Next up is, what fun things can you bring to YouTube? I think that, we have a unique confluence of Booktube and hashtag vinyl community, and that this is kind of the space where music and literature meets. And so I know there are other people who love music and love books. There's a lot of people like us out there. So I think it's kind of cool that we're focusing on that niche. I love that Dave brings a ton of music knowledge to the table. Jen, I love your passion for the juice and the gossip. I personally enjoy getting in on that. So yeah, I just think, and we're kind of quirky people, so we bring a lot of fun. Dave, what do you think?
Yeah, what fun things do we bring to Booktube? I mean, I would say a lot of what you just stated is that we are unique to this space. I think we're doing something different. I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe there's other sort of book clubs online, but I think we approached it as, the idea stemmed from something different. We weren't trying to form a Booktube channel per se, but we realized we were doing one. We all come at it. There's some overlapping taste in music, but there's also a lot of stuff that's pretty different. So we're going to be able to pull from all the different realms. It's not just going to be, oh, you're only doing books on these kinds of artists or this kind of thing.
I will say, again, with the genre of these books, I love to talk about it, to explore, for all of us to compare our points of views, and for people out there to see where they are with the book themselves. And I like the fact that Dave is like the historian. He's kind of got all the facts and, like literally the facts of like details of bands. I dig for the gossip, and I kind of like to find the, steamy stuff. And Shelley's kind of like, you're just kind of like, I would say the voice of reason.
Oh, thanks.
So I think we can bring a lot. And I think it's a fun thing for everyone to do. And this is, unique in its kind of direction, and it's a ton of fun. And I want people to have fun with us.
Well, and I think that's a good segue into the next question, which is, what are you most excited about with this new channel?
So what I'm most excited about this is just having a different audience. Like I said, I mean, I know the analytics of my channel, and I know who's watching me and stuff. And I want to see if we got different kinds of people. One thing that YouTube does do is provide some type of community, and I am excited about meeting some different people who are into these kinds of books. And, we're not doing something that includes every type of book possible. We're kind of in our little world, and we want as many people to come into that world. And I think there are more people out there who will appreciate what we're doing. So I'm excited to see if that's correct or not, I guess.
I'm most excited about the fact that me personally, I'm stepping out of my classic rock genre of books. And I'm reading books about Liz Phair, which I never thought I'd read in my life. And I enjoyed it, though I still do not enjoy her music. And I just love the fact that we are open to anything in this book club, keeping it kind of on the rock and roll stream. But I'm leaving my comfort zone. And I think all of us are leaving our individual comfort zones too and learning something. So that's what I'm excited about.
Yeah. You know, I have to say I'm excited for the audience and community too, kind of like you said, Dave. I'm really excited to hear what other people are saying about these books. So the audience reactions, you know, like what was the thing that stood out to you? What was the thing you found most shocking or interesting? Did you agree with us? Did you not agree with us? What did we miss? What should we have covered? You know, all those things. And of course, we're never going to be perfect, but I'm just really excited for some of that interaction. And also for people to start reading along. So, you know, I think right now we've got some dark stuff viewers, which hi dark stuff audience, love you guys. Thank you for being here. But it will be really exciting when people start to like see the trailers and go, okay, next month book is fill in the blank. And then they read it and we're all in this book club together. It's not just the three of us. This one's going to be hard for me to have a short answer to. And that is, why do you love reading?
Well, obviously, I love rock bios and like crazy band bios. They're so fun. I love reading. I mean, I read celebrity bios. I read, you know, and autobiographies too. But I love reading where I can learn something. So that is my genre is biographies and autobiographies, memoirs. But I also love like wellness books. In cult books. Like it's so fun to learn about all the scams out there and all this stuff and you know what all these wellness people say. So I enjoy those too. I am in another book club and we do fiction. We do the usual, you know, New York Times bestsellers and such. And that's good too. But I love taking away facts from any book that I read.
That's great.
Thank you.
Dave?
Do you want me to go? Okay, well, why do I love reading? I mean, it's the same thing that a reason why I like music is an escapism, you know? So in other words, it can take you to another place, and just how books can transport you into another world, with so can music. And so, you know, I started off reading when I was little, and then music sort of became my number one thing, more so than TV and film and you know, everything. Music was my world. But as I'm older and I've gotten reconnected with reading again, you realize that there is a unique experience to the book, you know, books, novels, and everything that it is just different than when you get lost in a book. It's different than getting lost in an album.
Well, I've loved reading since I can remember. As a kid, I just would read anything you put in front of me. I'd read the back of a shampoo bottle, literally have read all of the backs of all of the shampoo bottles in my life. And yeah, you know, kind of what you were saying, Dave, I love it that you can be transported to another place. I love that books let you imagine what the world the author is creating looks like. I like it that it feels like a very personal experience. It's just a lot of fun, but also I think as I've gotten older, I really appreciate the artistry of it. You know, thinking as a writer myself, but not a fiction writer currently. You know, I love being able to think about, you know, why did they choose to tell this story, or why did they choose these words or this tone or these characters, and thinking about the choices that writers make and marveling over, the way that they write and the beauty of that. I just really, I'm a word nerd. I love words, and, there's just a lot of beautiful ways to appreciate words in a book. So that's the shortest answer I can possibly give you. But also, why do I love reading? Because I have like stacks and stacks and stacks of books. Not in this room, but upstairs. Every book that I've ever read, other than the ones I checked out from
Shelley,
the library.
you have a book by my cousin. I saw that in your stack there.
Your cousin's Jonathan Safran Foer?
Yeah, sorry to just
Wait,
reveal that out of nowhere, but he is my cousin.
what?
I've never met him. I've met his dad, and I have met other members of the family, but his grandmother and my grandmother are first cousins. Were first
No
cousins. My grandma's
way.
deceased.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. Can
But
you
my
please
grandma's
meet him
long
and
since
tell him
deceased.
hi?
But well, if I ever meet him, I will. But he is actually my cousin. And so is his brother Franklin Foer, who you might see on like MSNBC. He's like a writer for some The Atlantic or something like that.
I love it.
Wow. Oh my
There you
gosh.
go.
You're
Big
like
reveal. Hey,
famous. Big
maybe that'll score
reveal.
me. Will that score me some points in BookTube?
I feel like it should.
It should. I agree. I should.
It scores you some points in Shelley Tube.
Okay, well there you go. That's fine with me. That's fine with me.
Word nerd land. You got a lot of points going on for you.
Okay.
Next question.
Yes.
What book or series got you into reading? Dave, you want to start that one?
Sure. I don't remember specifically. Like, I mean, I know when I was a kid, I loved those choose your own adventure books and stuff like that. I don't know if that's really what got me into reading or not. I know that when I got to college, I did what a lot of college age guys my era sort of did was I got really into the beatniks and I got into like William Burroughs and Jack Kerouac and I started following those roads and getting into those kinds of authors. And so I don't know. I would say maybe that was what got me into it, but I would also say later on, as I got into my 30s and I wanted to reconnect with writing. What got me back into reading was a book by this guy, Jerry Stahl. Okay, now he wrote a book called Permanent Midnight and it was turned into a movie. It starred Ben Stiller, and it was probably about 20 years ago. And I loved the movie. I thought it was great. And I wanted to read the book that it was based on because I found it was based on a book by this guy, Jerry Stahl. And what was funny about it was the book was so much more funny than the movie was very depressing. And the book itself was hysterical. So then I started seeing like, okay, I need to go to the source. And so I got this book, Perv, a Love Story. I got Plain Clothes Naked. This is another one of his books. And so it's like that kind of got me into it again. And then now it's been all rock biographies because that's my main level of interest at this point.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Jen, what got you into reading?
Well, I always read. I mean, especially, in my kind of, teen years where there's like a lot of time, but not a lot of time. And it just kind of got me through a lot. I began reading Jackie Collins, Hollywood Wives. I took it off of my grandmother's bookshelf at her house. And I think I was 13 years old. I was like my daughter's age, just garbage. So I read every single one and I don't have them anymore, but I did just pull them up. Hollywood Wives, Hollywood Husbands. And then you get to the whole Santangelo family that she writes about. Lucky Santangelo. I mean, these Lady Boss, like these books were amazing. So that really kind of got me hooked. And then I think, eventually I did like Sweet Valley High and all that. I just like a series of families and high schools and all that stuff like they all do. But then I started my rock bios and, that got me. That was my jam, literally.
Gosh, I wish I knew what the first book was that got me into reading. I don't really know, but I do remember early on, the Babysitter's Club was just the coolest. So I definitely loved that series in elementary school. I also remember reading A Wrinkle in Time, and which I actually reread as an adult a couple years ago, and still love it. I remember sitting in my elementary school, Hawthorne Elementary in Lincoln, Nebraska, shout out. And there were these stairs when you walked in, and I was waiting for my dad to pick me up from school, and I was sitting there reading that book, and I just still remember to this day that the coziness of that moment. So that definitely, Madeline L'Engle, amazing, definitely is responsible for my love of reading. So speaking of just finding a book of your parents, I found Catch 22 when I
Oh,
was in my dad's stack of books when I was 15. And I will never forget that summer. It was hot as hell, as it tends to be in Nebraska. And I was inside in the air conditioning, hanging out, reading that book. And every time I came across a word that I didn't know, I would write it down in a notebook and look up the definition and write down the definition of the word. So yeah, that's what I mean by word nerd. Like, I love that shit. So yeah, there's been many stops along the way. I definitely tend to go more toward the literature side of things. Since I got my undergrad in English and my master's in English Lit, that's kind of where I lean. But I hopefully am not a book snob. I love anything that anybody loves to read. I'm happy for you. What would you ask your favorite booktubers?
well, I don't have any specific favorite booktubers at the moment. I'm new to the whole booktube space at this point, but I would sort of ask people, you know, I don't need, how do you find the time?
Good question.
Mhm.
Jen?
I definitely have a lot of favorite YouTubers and other subjects, but as far as the books go, I'm with Dave. I'm just, exploring, finding the time. And I'm excited I started exploring other people, and I'd like to just kind of keep going and have people find us.
I would probably ask, what are your favorite marketing hacks? I do a lot of marketing communications for my work, and I just think it's fascinating, the different ways that you can promote your channel, the different programs that you use. So I know some people use Canva, some people use Adobe Express to do thumbnails or social media graphics. So I would just want to know, what are your hacks? Okay, what challenges do we think we might face as new booktubers?
I can go first again on that if you want.
Yeah,
I
go
think
for
the
it.
challenge is that, well, number one, we are doing something different, and sometimes something different takes a while to catch on or takes a while to find an audience. And my experience in YouTube has been that there are a lot of very creative people who get frustrated by that lack of progress or whatever they deem as progress, and they give up. And I think that is something that is something that we have to be considerate of. We're all doing this now, and it's very fun and it's enjoyable, and it's not like a business or anything like that. We're just doing it because we enjoy doing it. It'd be great if it catches on, and if it did, but if it didn't, fine. It's no real loss. So look, I hope these are challenges that aren't really that big of challenge, and that we'll be able to just move right through them. That's my hope anyways. This allows you to stretch. And I hope that a booktube channel is something that people who have a little more patience and want to hear longer form discussions. Our videos are usually about an hour, and that's a turnoff to some people. I don't think so in the book space. I'm hoping not anyways. So that's another challenge.
Yeah. Jen, what do you think?
Here's what I'm going to say to that. And this I learned myself within this club. Stepping outside of yourself. If we're covering a book like, hold on, Patti Smith, Just Kids.
Ooh.
If you don't have any interest in Patti Smith, please start listening to us regardless, because you may change your mind. Or if you're not wanting to read Heaven and Hell by Don Helder, which is phenomenal. It's My Life with the Eagles, Heaven and Hell. I mean, he's just bitching the whole way. But I would ask that people would just give it a shot, because there really might be something there that grabs you. And maybe you're not so angry after all at Liz Fair. So, I think it's good to step outside of a comfort zone or a genre or anything of that nature. So that's what I hope happens. And I could see that.
I have a friend that listened to a podcast that covers a reality TV series that she does not watch, but she loves the podcast. And I feel like that is the mark of a fantastic podcaster. So Booktube goals would be, like, hang out with us even if you didn't read the book or don't care about the musician. Just tune in to see what we're talking about. I mean, that would be so cool.
Absolutely.
I think a big challenge will just be on the time side of things. These things take time to, put together and promote and build. But, I think the best part, and you mentioned this, Dave, is that we're all doing it for fun. It's not like we're trying to get rich quick or any of that. We're really just doing it because we love music, we love books, and it's fun to talk about them. So, hopefully that joy that we bring to it will fuel us to overcome any challenge that is put in front of us. We'll see. Where do you read? I'll go ahead and start this one off. So typically, I guess the answer depends on the season. So I have an enclosed front porch. And so in the spring, part of the summer and the fall, I love reading on my front porch. I have like a chaise lounge out there, and I don't know why. Whenever I say that word now, I just think of the band Wet Leg. Love that song. Sorry, side note. So yeah, I love reading on my front porch. I read in bed. I'll read on my couch. I recently started becoming a book listener. So I quote unquote read in my car. Listen in my car or listen when I'm doing chores. There's nothing like a great book or a great podcast to motivate me to clean like all of the things in the house. You know what I mean? Because it's like, ooh, I really want to hear the end of this chapter. So I think maybe I will tackle dusting the living room. You know what I mean? So that's where I read. How about you guys? Jen?
I would say, okay, whenever I am on an airplane, I will read. And I love Vanity Fair. So I always get Vanity Fair and Vogue. So I will load up my bag and I'll read like 5 magazines on the plane. And that's good. If I'm into a great book, I'll read it on the plane. I'll read it any amount of free time I have during the day. It's not a whole lot. But I've started listening as well. And what I love about listening is the artistry that some of these books they have when you're listening to the author read it and you're listening to them do specific voices and discuss specific moments. And I think it's great to read books. And honestly, you can always push a little bit of fast forward if you're reading something that gets kind of boring. Just saying.
True.
Not that I do that in this book club.
No.
Clubs, yes.
Of course not. Of course not.
Yeah.
You saying the thing about airplanes reminded me of my very favorite place to read a book, which is on the beach.
Yeah.
Oh man, there's nothing like spending an entire day on the beach just reading and drinking. I mean, let's be honest. There's booze in there too, but that is my favorite place to read. Unfortunately, that is not the place where I read most frequently.
Yeah, it's hard to do in Nebraska, but
yes.
Yeah, real hard to do when you're in our landlocked state.
As far as where I do most of my reading, it's not down here. This is where I film most of my videos. I refer to this as the bunker. It's my music room. I generally read upstairs. That's where my books are typically located. It's better lighting because this is a basement and better lighting up there. And so I can do it. But it just really depends. And then, yeah, like you guys, I've recently gotten into audiobooks, only biographies. I mean, really mostly just the stuff that we're doing, like started doing some audiobooks. And in that case, it's more in the car and when I go to the gym, it's pretty good. Although the gym is hard because I'll be honest with you, I need like heavy metal or something like to make me kind of go. And someone talking is usually not enough for me. So that's why podcasts and audiobooks usually don't work at the gym, but sometimes.
And this is maybe the best question of all. What books do you like to read?
What kind of books do I like to read? I mean, obviously, besides all these rock biographies, and this is our next video, by the way, Dave Grohl. I do like my degree in college was as political science, and I do read a lot of political books. And then sci-fi for sort of just enjoyment. My favorite bands are, I mean, I really love Kiss and the Replacements. But most of my musical taste would be what would be considered alternative or indie rock, Pavement, the Pixies, that kind of stuff. That's been my favorite stuff. And so when I dip out of my comfort zone, like when we did the Britney Spears book, yeah, I'm not a Britney Spears fan, but it was if it's a well-written book or a memoir or a bio, one of these things, it doesn't matter whether I like them personally. Like sort of Jen was sort of saying, you can step out of your zone of what you normally like. And, I'm compelled. If the story is compelling, then I'm interested. And one last thing, people always ask me where I got the name from my other channel, The Dark Stuff. That's from this book, The Dark Stuff by Nick Kent, which is selected writings on rock music, 1972 to 1995. But
here's what I like to read. Bruce Springsteen.
I was going to ask when we're going to read that.
It's a thick one, but it's good.
18 hours on Audible. I actually was just looking at it the other day.
Yeah.
And I was like, should I send this? And then I was like, 18 hours.
It's great. It's long. But I read that. I finished that on a plane and I was sobbing because it was, to the part where Clarence passed away. I was like heaving. And it was really embarrassing.
Wow.
And I got all like stuffed up and, it wasn't good, but it was fine. So to answer your question, that's my favorite book ever, which wasn't even a question. Like I said, I like wellness books. I just like to see how people take care of themselves. I'm very into longevity and that type of thing as well. And then I like to educate myself. So, I'm reading a book on Israel. I'm reading books on NPR and news stories and stuff like that. But, again, my babies are these books. And this is the best book ever, by the way, The Dirt by Motley Crue. It's filthy, disgusting, and wrong, but it is so beautifully written. It's phenomenal. So that's my plug. And I will say, some of my favorite bands, in addition to Bruce, I love Lyle Lovett. I go down a whole road of like an Americana, and I love him. I think he's incredible. I really like Fiona Apple. I love Bonnie.
Love her.
I think we can all agree on Fiona Apple.
Yeah.
If there was a book on Fiona, I would say we do it next.
Same.
But
Same.
I will say my favorite, if I could go back and do anything in any genre of time, it would be Laurel Canyon. Like I don't know if I was there in a past life. Fleetwood Mac. I mean, Crosby, Stills and Nash, Joni Mitchell, to an extent, and Linda Ronstadt. I mean, those are my people.
How do you feel about Selena Gomez getting cast as Linda Ronstadt in the movie?
I think it's incredible. If Linda gave
too.
her stamp of approval, I'm all over it.
Yeah.
I mean, she is brilliant. I have her book too, but I read it. She's great. She's just kind of boring. She did everything right.
Yeah.
I got high ones.
There's no scandal. Yeah. There's no scandal.
None.
There's no nothing. I didn't lose all my money. I still have it. I'm still fine. Whatever. It's like, okay.
She's a legit, lovely person. And she's a beautiful, she's not a writer, but she's a beautiful, song artist, so to speak. So that's where I'm at.
Okay. Yeah. This is another one that's going to be really hard for me to give a short answer to. So books that I read are mostly fiction. I love a good novel. I typically read a couple of short story collections in a year. I do throw in a nonfiction book here and there. Now that we're doing this, my consumption of memoirs and biographies has shot through the roof. That hasn't always been my favorite thing. Like, it's not the first book I'm gonna reach for, But I have to say, I have many biographies I've read that I've really, really loved. In fact, I had a class in college that was all about biographies, and it was a great class, one of my very favorites. So specifically, though, well, we already know that Jonathan Safran Foer is on the list. Love me some Rick Moody. Man, love that movie too.
It's a great film.
Oh,
Great film.
so good. Literally, Rick Moody, I picked up this book. I was staying at a friend's house in Boston when I was like 25, say, and I just pulled it off the shelf, and it was the prettier version, which is like a light blue. And I started reading the first page and I couldn't stop. And so like we stopped at a bookstore and I bought it and read it on that trip. So I've read a bunch of Rick Moody. Don DeLillo is my boyfriend. I read a bunch of his books. I wrote my undergrad honors thesis on Don DeLillo, so big fan there. I'm throwing in Shutter by Ramona Emerson, which I just read on vacation, and it was so good. Polish author. I'm not going to say her last name because I'll screw it up. But love this book. Tommy Orange, there, so good. Monogamy, Sue Miller, total favorite.
Wow.
Old-time favorite, Alice Walker, The Temple of My Familiar. Love this book, even though I haven't read it literally in 25 years. Tim O'Brien, he's my other boyfriend. I just adore all of his writing. He's the best. This book in particular will make you weep in the most lovely way. I love Tim Bryan. I can't wait to read his new book. And Jonathan Franzen, I love his books too. The Corrections, I mean, a lot of people have heard about it. It's such a good read. He has so many unique characters. Yeah, and this is just the stack that I grabbed when Dave said, "Hey, you should grab a couple of the books that you like." And I came down with like, 10 or whatever. Like I can't even hold them all together at once. There's still 2 on the table here. So, that's what kind of books I like to read. Music-wise, I love the Pixies. Fiona Apple already mentioned. Sebado, Pavement. Block Party is probably my favorite band ever. Block Party is my happy music. But also, yeah, I like some of the like older, like classic rock. Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, Neil Young. I'm of course totally blanking on other records that I own from that period of time, but mostly indie rock. And one more thing I should say about the things that I like to read. I think if you asked my other book club, they would say dark and depressing shit. And I don't have anything against, a good old like easy, fun rom-com. I think that's wonderful. For whatever reason, I just love depressing shit. I don't know if it's because I like to go on that ride with the author. I don't know if it's certain sort of like maybe my life isn't as bad. I don't know what it is for sure, but I like the dark things. I like the dark stuff, Dave. There you go. Bringing it full circle. Well, thanks everybody for joining us on our newbie tag video. Really hope you'll check out another one of our episodes. Even if you haven't read the book, I think taking a quick listen might let you know if you do want to read the book or if you want to watch more of our episodes. Hope you'll subscribe and like the video and other videos, and hope to see you back. So thanks so much for joining.
Yeah. Bye-bye.